Ça va vous autres. Take a little time, let some people hop up in the chat. Hope y'all having a blessed day. Hope everything is right with you. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take a section of a book. That book is called Kréyol dans la Gazèt by Taalib Pierre Auguste. Kréyol dans la Gazèt. Kréyol dans la Gazèt is a collection of entries in Louisiana, newspapers that go back 200 years, almost 200 years. So what he says in the back of a book, in the back of the book, he says it in Creole. Everything is in Creole. He says, it's because I hear a lot of myths that people never wrote in Creole. So I wanted to write Kréyol dans la Gazèt. I wanted to show that our Creole language has been used in the artistic world. It has been used for people who have spoken the language since their younger years, and as a second language for people who, I'm translating as I read it, as a second language, or even it's been used to mock people, just like how sometimes they mock our dialect of African American English. So I'm going to give a little time for some people to hop up in the chat, and then we'll speak more on this. There's Kréyol dans la Gazèt. We're going to speak on Kréyol dans la Gazèt, but also we're going to speak a little bit on the Louisiana Creole Dialect by James F. Broussard. And this book was written, I want to say, I got the stamps right here. They go back to 1949. But the reason I like this book a lot, for one, you can't find it anywhere. You can't purchase it, at least not to my knowledge. But I want to speak on this book because the gentleman who wrote this book, he speaks Creole and spoke it as a first language. He's a white man. He wrote this for his, I want to say his doctoral thesis. But he, what he says in the beginning of the book is, the Creole dialect of Louisiana's test country, fabricated by Negro slaves out of the language of their French masters, is spoken today by a large population of Negroes in the southern section of the state, and bilingually with French by a large number of white people who learned it in childhood from their nurses, and by others who have adopted it as the language of their community. Now, what he basically says is, I want to write about this language, I want to write about this dialect, I want to study it. And this language has been spoken, yes, by the Negroes, but also by a large population of white people as their first language, and then they learn Standard French as their primary language. But it's also been adopted by communities of white people as their primary language, of them being monolingual, right? So the thing to understand is that in the age that we are in now, 2026, according to the Gregorian calendar, 2026, there's a resurgence of new Louisiana Creole speakers. I speak Louisiana Creole. Some of my good brothers speak Louisiana Creole. Our children speak Louisiana Creole. But we don't speak it in a community where it is spoken 100% of the time. And with that, you inevitably have some development of the language. Basically, it's not going to be the same as it was. This is not a bad thing, because we have books like this, Louisiana Creole Dialect of Louisiana. We have Kréyol dans la Gazèt, which is an examination of the Creole language being written for 100 plus years. We have audio available at the University of, was it UL? Is that Lafayette? University of Lafayette or Louisiana? I don't know which one. But we have audios of native speakers. So people like myself and my brothers are preserving this language, studying this language, understanding this language, and doing our best to keep it pure so that once we pass it on, it is not just people who speak English with Creole words. What I mean is every language is a bit different in the sentence structure. English is no different, right? So English and Creole, they have different sentence structures and they have different expressions. In Creole, in Louisiana, one thing we say is lâche pas la patate, like don't drop the potato. I learned one today. I'll explain lâche pas la patate. Lâche pas la patate is like, but even that's, I would say that's like a new expression that we use to hold the language, right? But one that I just learned today from the book Louisiana Creole Dialect is parti au Texas. Parti au Texas. And parti au Texas, I'll pull it up here. Parti au Texas means left for Texas. Left for Texas. Parti Texas, pardon. Parti Texas. Parti Texas, that's left for Texas. But what that means is that a person went far away. It's like how we say, oh, you went all the way to Timbuktu. Well, in Louisiana Creole is you went to Texas. Because in that time, Texas then was the far off country. This is what he says in the book. Texas then was the far off country, the great unknown, the refuge for adventurers and runaway slaves. And the dialect, as well as other forms of Louisiana French, the feminine form, that it doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. But I'm saying this to say the language develops, right? But we get a taste of the language in its purest form when we read it in these books, when we hear these audios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start. And I'm going to read one paragraph of this book, Kréyol dans la Gazèt. Kréyol dans la Gazèt is a very good book. It was recently published, I want to say last year. But the young man who published this book, he spoke Creole as his first language. I think I want to say his father spoke French, his mother spoke Creole, and he learned with his grandmother as well. But essentially in the house, he spoke and speaks French and Creole. So I'm going to read. We're actually going to start from the back. So we read this selection. I'm going to break it down a little bit. I'm going to essentially just read the paragraph, and then I'll go and I'll break it down piece by piece, okay? So, this is Pablier Kréyol. Pablier Kréyol. And Creole, when we say pa is a negative marker. So, it means to not or don't do something. So, pablier, blier means to forget. So, if you have pablier, it's don't forget. Pablier Kréyol, don't forget Creole. Pablier Kréyol by Taalib Pierre Auguste, or Pablier Kréyol par Taalib Pierre Auguste. Mon peur nous va quitter le langage à nos vieux parents mouris. Créole qui donne nous le goût dans l'histoire qui représente la mosaïque de la Louisiane. Il est toujours traité comme un langage déformé. Mais c'est le langage de monde qui est raciné dans la terre de nos belles Louisiane. Nous voyons qui sur les diminuer l'aspect de la créolité dans nos pays Il appelle le langage un patois, mais on ne peut pas comprendre ce sentiment. So, what he's saying is, let's go back to the beginning. Mon père nous va quitter le langage à nos vieux parents mourir. I'm scared that we will leave the language or forget the language of our old of our old dead relatives. I don't want to say dead relatives, but basically, I'm scared that we'll forget the language of our people. Mon père nous va quitter le langage à nos vieux parents mourir. I'm scared that we'll forget the language of our family that's passed away. Kréyol, qui donne nous autres le goût dans l'histoire qui représente la mosaïque de la Louisiane. Creole, that gives us the taste of a history or a taste of the history of the story that represents the mosaic of Louisiana. So what he's saying is, I'm scared that we will forget the language of our people, of our relatives who have passed away. This Creole that is a testimony, or that is a taste, as he puts it, le goût. This Creole that is a taste of the history or the story of what is the grand mosaic of Louisiana. I'm scared that we're gonna lose this important part of the history that makes Louisiana. And then in the next sentence he says, I like this. Il est toujours traité comme un langage déformé. Il est toujours traité comme un langage déformé. It's still treated like a broken language. It's still treated like a deformed language, is what he says. Il est toujours traité comme un langage déformé. I'm scared that we're going to lose our language. Creole, right? This Creole language that is an important part of the mosaic of Louisiana, that gives us a taste of the history and the story of Louisiana. It's still treated like a broken language. This is not treated like a language, is what he's saying. Next sentence. Mais c'est le langage du monde qui est raciné dans la terre de nos belles Louisiane. But this is the language, but it's a language that is the language of people that are rooted in the land, or he's speaking poetically, is rooted in the land of our beautiful Louisiana, the Nobel Louisiana. So this language that is looked at as a broken language, this language that is looked at as a deformed language, is a language spoken by people who are rooted in the land of what is Louisiana. Nous voyons qui sont les diminuer l'aspect de la créolité dans nos pays. We see people who are trying to diminish this aspect of Creole in our country. Ils appellent nos langages en patois, mais on ne peut pas comprendre ce sentiment. They call our language a patois, but I can't understand this sentiment. So because they call our language a patois, they try to diminish the language. What a patois is a let's look it up. Let's look up a patois versus a Creole versus a pidgin. Okay? So right now we're going to look up the definition of patois. Patois. So patois is the dialect of the common people of a region, differing in various respects from the standard language of the rest of the country. So patois would more so be kind of like an AAVE, right? Or a patois would more so be like a Cajun French or Louisiana French. What could you say? Even Quebec French could be a patois. Basically any language that differs from the standard. But that's murky waters because the standard changes, right? Standard English today was not standard English 50 years ago. And then we look at the definition of a Creole. A Creole is a mother tongue from the contact of two languages through an earlier pidgin stage. So what that means is when you had people that came here from France, you had people that came here from Spain, you had people that was already here, then you had people that was brought here from Africa. They all came together and their languages mixed together so they would speak pidgins with one another. Those pidgins they would speak, and then when they went home, they would just speak the regular language, or they would speak their native language. But as they stayed in the land, that pidgin became more prominent. So the children grew up speaking more of that pidgin, and then after a while, new children are born that only speak that pidgin, right? So I used to work in construction. And when I worked in construction, you would always say to a lot of the Hispanic men that work, oh, lunchy. Lunchy was an adaptation of lunch. And lunchy means lunch, but you say it with a little Spanish twang on it, right? So me, when I say lunchy, I'm not saying that at home with my kids. Y'all ready for lunchy? I'm just saying that with the guys at work, right? But if my kids were to be raised up and continue to work, or let's say I took a wife from one of those Hispanic men or something, not like took a wife, but took a wife from their community, and she speaks Spanish, and then I speak English, and then we start to say lunchy, and then our children say lunchy. That's an example of how Creoles develop, right? Everybody's not completely segregated. You have somebody that speaks French that encounters somebody who speaks Wolof, and encounters somebody that speaks Hama, that encounters somebody that speaks Spanish, and so on and so forth. That's one instance, but if you have that just happening all over a territory, then that's how Creole develops. And that's how Creoles develop everywhere. That's why we can, all of us who speak Creole, we can understand each other. Louisiana Creoles, we can understand Creole from Mauritius. We can understand to some extent Haitian Creole. We can understand to some extent Creole from Guadeloupe, and vice versa, right? We can all essentially understand each other to some extent because we were all colonized by the same European nation, which was France, right? But what he's saying in the book is this language is looked at and there are so many attempts to diminish the language. And when he says "mon papa sentit ce sentiment," basically like, I can't feel it, I can't rock with that, is what he's saying. So that's Creole dans la Gazèt. Now, if you have enjoyed this, I have created a community online with people who are serious about learning the language of Louisiana Creole, of Kouri Vini. If you would like to join this community, then you can send me a DM saying that you'd like to join a community, and I will make those notifications. I will make that community available, Abba willing, this first day of the week. So what is known as Sunday, I will make that available. And we can go in there and just engage with the language. But what would be the purpose of us doing that? The purpose of us doing it, as opposed to doing this on Instagram and TikTok, is on Instagram and TikTok you have a lot of people engaging, a lot of people asking questions, a lot of people from all different walks of life. But a lot of people, when they engage, they just, oh, hey, that's cool, and they just keep going, right? What you want is, you want a community of people who want to learn the language just as much as you want to learn the language. So the community that I have created serves that purpose. And it is also a community where I do lives like this, and even I'll also invite people up. And we talk about these documents. We talk about the language. We get a feel of the level that we have. Another reason to join this community is because I offer one-on-one classes, but everybody might not be available or ready for those one-on-one classes at the moment. So as a compliment to the one-on-one classes, but also if you can't join the one-on-one classes, you can join the community. And if you join the community, then you can essentially still communicate with people who want to learn the language just as much as you want to learn it. So I'll make that available Sunday for people to join. And what I also do is I post very good resources. So if you are in Louisiana, right, you can probably find this book here, Louisiana Creole Dialect by James F. Broussard. You can also look it up online. They have it at Yale. They have it at Penn State University. They have it at a bunch of universities. I can't find it online nowhere to buy, but it is very, very, very useful because it breaks down the grammar. It breaks down just the grammar of the language, right? It's very useful if you also speak French. If you speak French and you're trying to learn Kréyol, that's a very, very useful tool because all the comparisons that it has compares the language to French. Or if you're just interested in linguistics and you have some type of kind of familiarity with French, then you could use it. Kréyol dans la Gazèt by Monsieur Taalib Pierre Auguste is also very useful. This shows you the development of the writing system. But we got classes opening up Sunday, one-on-one classes opening up Sunday. And then the Kouri Vini, which is another thing that we call Louisiana Creole, Kouri Vini. The community is going to open up as well, and we can get involved. It's also a community where I'm a lot more involved. It's my primary community if you have questions for me, if you need resources, that thing has my priority over Instagram and TikTok and Threads. Because Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, that's just a place that I can just open a window for y'all to come in. But the community is a community that I've created that you can come in and we can discuss ensemble. Nous can discuter ensemble, nous can parler ensemble. We can speak together. So I'm going to leave just about 4 minutes for some questions. If you got some questions, let me know. And at 5 o'clock, I'm going to get up out of here, 5 o'clock Central Time. So if you got some questions, hurry up and let me know. We're going to chill here till 5 o'clock. Et là, Babou, comment ça va? Like I said, if you got any questions, if you just hop back in, if you got any questions, let me know. We're going to get out of here pretty soon. What does the brother say? Rahubat. What is that, comedic? If you got any questions, let me know. Moi bien, merci. Comment tu apprends ça? Comment tu apprends Kouri Vini? Ça tu disais. Ouais, nous avons une famille haïtienne là. Non, je fait mon tien classe. Cliff, il fait classe avec beaucoup de monde, mais moi, je fais ça tout seulement, 1v1. Nous avons un haïtien là. Tu es bienvenu, tu peux parler, tu peux comprendre ça, mon dit, hein? Bien, tu peux comprendre. Moi, tu parles pas créole. Je crois que tu parles créole. How many people we got still up in here? Pas much, pas beaucoup. Moi, mais c'est Cliff, Christophe. Yeah. D'accord, c'est bon, beau. D'accord. Tu n'as jamais entendu pour ça? Louisiana Creole Dialect, c'est bien bon ça. Il y a aussi Kréyol dans la Gazèt. Kréyol dans la Gazèt. Ah, merci. Tu n'as jamais entendu Kréyol dans la Gazèt? C'est bien bon ça. Ça va aider à lire parce que après quelques temps, quand tu arrives à un niveau certain, tu vas gagner des tracas pour améliorer toi-même avec la langue. Ça fait, moi c'est dit, dans ton salle, tu as besoin de lire et lire. Lire plus. Oui, si tu Taalib Pierre Auguste, il gagne ça sur son profil, il gagne ça. Tu peux acheter ça, c'est 20 piastres. C'est mon 20 piastres, c'est bon ça. Ouais, c'est bon, c'est juste 20 piastres. Et puis, tu peux lire ça, et puis, ouais, c'est juste bon. Regarde. Ouais. Bienvenue aux autres. But we got about 1 more minute left. If anybody got any questions, if not, then I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I appreciate y'all coming in here today. Appreciate y'all asking y'all questions, getting involved, poking your ears out to what I got to say. I don't take it for granted. Arewa, Fleur de Z. Tu peux parler créole, toi. Can you speak Creole, Fleur de Z? All right, y'all, it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to get up out of here. Y'all be easy. Shalom.